It's pretty easy to get overwhelmed with the plethora of things to do at a Path of Exile League start. But today I'm going to give you my top tips and tricks to stay focused and make the most out of your League start. Let's get into it. Welcome. It's your friendly neighborhood Badger here, and I'm back to talk about Path of Exile League starts. We're just coming up on the League start of Path of Exile Scourge, but this content I'm going to be sharing with you today is pretty much evergreen. All of the tips and tricks I'll be letting you guys know about, or refreshing you on, is very much going to carry through pretty much all of Path of Exile and any League start you do, apart from any absolutely drastic changes to the core of how the game plays. But right before we do start, the first thing that I'm going to say is Path of Exile, to me and to a lot of people as well, should be about fun. If these tips and tricks don't sound like they're fun to you, you don't have to do them. It's just things that I do and a lot of other people do to really get that extra edge, especially in softcore trade or any sort of trade league is mainly what we're going to be talking about here, how to progress quickly and how to keep yourself motivated. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into it after you subscribe. The first thing that we're going to talk about is motivation itself. How do you carry through the excitement of a league start into continually pushing and upgrading your character? Well, one really good way of doing so is making a plan of how you're going to progress through the Atlas. Now, this is for people who already know how to, fairly quickly get through the story and everything like that. And once you get into the Atlas, it can still be a little bit overwhelming. But the Atlas passive trees are a really good way of planning out how you're going to do the league start. Now, Path of Exile love to give us any changes to the Atlas passive tree, and in Scourge League, we've got the changes right here, and it's going down to only 4 Atlas regions. And a really good way to go about this is to plan how you're going to go through all of your Atlas passives. I like to plan to begin with the first 2 to 3 nodes of each Atlas passive tree, and plan based on either what I'm going to use for my character or what I'm going to sell to other people. So we're going to actually go through the 4 things for Scourge League here. I'll give you a little bit of an example of what I'm going to do, but I would definitely go through this yourself and see how this suits you. So first of all, the Atlas passive for Hayward Hamlet has some really nice passives all to do with Metamorph. It's got some really nice ritual stuff. It's got essences, Harvest, and also Jun up the top here for betrayal missions. I think that one of the most profitable ways to league start is actually going to be really focusing on Hayward Hamlet and going into essences. Now, the big reason here is Essence of Delirium is changing a lot. For any sort of dot build, people are going to want Essences of Delirium to use those on their rings, because you can now get damage over time multiplier on your rings, I think up to 15%, which is really strong if you've got on both your rings. That's an extra 30 damage over time multi. So rushing into these 2 nodes, Control Corruption and Amplified, is going to mean that any Hayward Hamlet map that you do, you're also probably just going to run Essences on the map device, and then just juice through all of this and have a ton of fun. The rest that I'm going to do is actually just jump into Harvest, because I really enjoy just jumping into Harvest, trying to create some good jewels or gear for either my character or to sell, and that's what I'm going to do. But there is a lot of other profit to come out of rituals right here, even just going into Test of Loyalty and getting some additional ranks, and then intelligence gathering. Completing maps gains 10 intelligence for a random Immortal Syndicate safe house for your syndicate. This is exactly what you want to do right here. We'll move on from now, but take a look at all of the passive skill trees and see what you're going to plan for, because there's a lot of juice in all of this, and making sure that you target farm is going to be really important. But let's move on to number 2. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is actually investing your currency. Now, this only really applies for trade players, but investing your currency is a really good way, especially within the first week, to basically gain money while you're sleeping. Now, I sound very much like a stockbroker or something like that right now, but it honestly just works wonders in Path of Exile. The best way to really do this is things like divination cards that will just rise in price as the league goes on. Now, there's smaller kinds of divination cards that you can purchase and larger ones, anything from Abandoned Wealth, which gives you 5 cards for 3 Exalted Orbs. So if you got enough to purchase 1, 2 of these on the first day, purchase these. You might get like 40, 50 chaos worth of currency back on day 2 or day 3 or something like that to you know, be able to purchase that thing that you do want to purchase. Other things like the nurse card, even the patient into the nurse into the doctor, are really, really good to purchase as well on the trade website, because these are always going to rise in price. And then if you've got a little bit more currency, you can go for things like 7 years bad luck for mirror shards, or unrequited love for 19 mirror shards, or you can even go for the top end ones as well, the top end mirror div cards, if you're really, really juicing that currency. Honestly, these just rise and rise and rise throughout the entire league, so it is a really, really, really good type of investment. Yeah, it's a really, really good way to just keep your currency safe as you increase through your mapping, through anything like that. So that's number 2. The third thing that we're going to talk about is actually setting up the trade website itself. There's a really, really great thing that you can do with the trade website if you know the types of items that you want. Say, for example, we will take 7 years bad luck as an example. So 7 years bad luck is a card that's right here, and say you know that you're gonna get a little bit of currency on day 1, and you might be able to purchase one of these, which is 13 cards for 1 mirror shard. So what you can do is you can give it a search. So make sure you're in the right league. So when Scourge League is actually here, you'll be able to click on Scourge League. So you give a search for this right here, wherever it is, this button right down here. Give a search, and then you can click Activate Live Search. Now, what Activate Live Search is going to do is it's going to give you a little bit of a notification and a sound whenever anyone puts a 7 years bad luck up on the market. You can set up a ton of these types of tabs. For me, I like to set up, because I'm going to be setting up a tab for Vol's Devotion, which is an amulet that I really want to pick up. So I want to set up Vol's Devotion. I'll click this one down here, go to the search button, activate live search, and then that's just going to pop up if anyone ever does come up, and maybe I'll be able to snag a cheap one if someone's wanting to sell one really cheap. So anything like that, any sort of div card for a unique that you really want, any sort of currency that you're trying to grind for, absolutely anything, set up as much as you can. You can even set this up just a little bit before the league goes live, and then even as you're leveling through the story, you might be able to snag up some pretty good stuff. Anything from, you know, humility div cards for a tabula, all the way up to the mirror cards as well. Absolutely set up as many as you can, because this is going to be a really, really good way of progressing as quick as possible and generating more currency with less gameplay. Now, the last thing that I do want to talk about, we're going to jump back into game for this, because the last thing I'll talk about is making sure that your stash tabs are set up properly as well. So you want to go to your standard stash anywhere between now and the start of the league itself, and set up your stash tabs in the order that you do want them. Now, I still got a little bit to set up here for, you know, some differences, but your base stash tabs, you don't need to worry about setting up any of your, oh wait, I don't need to create a folder right there. You don't need to worry about setting up any of your remove only tabs, because, you know, I have like 650 billion of them. But setting these up, you know, the right colors, the right names, anything you want. I'm pretty sure also the affinities do carry over. If they don't carry over, you might have to click them again, but they should carry over. And this just means that when you go into Scourge League itself, or any league that you're going to be playing, these are going to be the order that they transport into. They always, any sort of new league takes the stash tabs from the parent league. So if it's a normal challenge league, it's going to be taking, so if you're in softcore trade, it'll be taking from standard. If you're in hardcore trade, it'll be taking from hardcore. If you're in hardcore solo self-found, it'll be taking from standard, hardcore solo self-found, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. If you're playing in a private league, the private league is going to take from the challenge league that you create that private league in. So if you create a softcore private league within Scourge, it's going to take from your Scourge softcore trade league. So it's a little bit confusing, but you just got to make sure that it takes from the parent league. So for a lot of you, you'll probably be playing softcore trade. Go into your standard softcore trade. Make sure that all of your tabs are exactly how you want them, and then that's gonna transfer just like that. That's all I really have to say. My little tips and tricks. I know it's not covering absolutely everything, but it's things that I like to check off on my tick list right before I jump into the next league. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got any tips yourself, let me know in the comments down below. I always like to hear what other people do, and if this helped you at all, hit that sub button, hit that like button, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, Badger is out.